is your status?
Core systems appear operational.
Good. We must keep in mind, this combat shell was not designed for biomass engagement. Any contact with the infestation will render us immediately inoperable.
Where should we begin searching?
Undetermined. I'll scan the area for identifiable landmarks.
I recognize this ship. It belongs to Delta Squad.
I would no longer qualify this as a ship.
Chronos 2 wreckage. Currently assessing biotorpedoes in the area.
There's that transmission again. I recognize this unit as Delta 6.
Interesting. It appears this Delta 6 has already located several torpedoes. Reaching their location may be our most expedient option.
Is it possible to make contact from here?
Negative. There's too much interference in the signal. We should first clear ourselves of this debris, then see if the signal strengthens. However, we should check your equipment before we go. I will do my best to keep this expedient. Let's begin with your shielding. This unit has been optimized for combat scenarios and is capable of regenerating its shield without the use of external chargers. However, a significant delay is required for the process to begin after sustaining damage. You may need to exercise patience.
Understood.
Next is your armament. This unit is equipped with an M19C repeater, designation Pulsar. Jack, are you comfortable wielding a firearm?
I'm accustomed to operating new tools. I'm certain learning to use this armament will be no different.
Very well. I shall construct a brief simulation so that you may familiarize yourself with the device. Your armament is now unlocked. Open fire on the targets. Targets eliminated. Unfortunately, should we encounter ticks, it is unlikely they will be quite so docile. These targets should provide a closer approximation to tick activity. As such, successfully hitting a given target may require you to aim ahead of its movement. The ionized bolts of your armament are surprisingly slow, though I suppose that is acceptable for weaponry of this century. Jack, fire continuously at this last target. Make no consideration for accuracy. Overheat detected. Notably, each firing of your weapon causes a portion of energy to be retained as excess heat. Without sufficient time to cool, this buildup will exceed maximum operating temperature, leading to an emergency venting cycle.
Can this be averted?
Yes. Firing in controlled bursts is the most efficient way to do so. However, you may use the button on your wrist to manually vent any heat within the unit. But this choice should be made tactically. The weapon will remain inoperable while venting.
Understood.
Excellent. Lastly, we need to inspect your threat scanner.
It's what we'll use to scan the biomass's base genetic material, correct?
Indeed. However, until we locate a viable torpedo, we shall instead rely on its original functionality, identifying nearby hostiles. To that end, I have optimized the device's settings to our mission parameters. Once activated, it will emit a single sensor pulse, followed by a brief recharge cycle. Try doing so now. Hostile identified. A tick just beyond the bulkhead. It appears dormant for the time being.
Can it be avoided?
Given the surrounding topography, no. Though your strategy is sound. Armament from this era won't be particularly effective against any form of the biomass.
Very well. I am ready to engage. Can you unlock the harness?
Done. Now that you are free, I must advise. Operating your firearm will produce substantial recoil. I strongly encourage you to brace by maintaining a firm grip on nearby surfaces.
Acknowledged.
neutralized. Well done, Jack. Warning. I am detecting extreme levels of radiation in the surrounding area.
As 6's transmission indicated, that would also explain the comms interference.
Indeed. Though I should also note, the ionizing radiation correlates with visual spectrum emissions. Avoiding the latter will protect you from the former.
The Series 10 Echo Unit shell from Delta Squad.
As anticipated, the biomass has been difficult to combat. I suspect we will find more losses as we continue.
Another shell from Delta Squad.
Damage is severe. An emergency reboot would have been required. The wreckage ahead contains a shielded view pane. It should offer full protection while allowing us to identify the source of radiation. That sudden dispersion of energy was quite effective. I advise adding the technique to your tactical database, or the civilian equivalent thereof.
My memory archive will suffice.
The debris field ahead offers far less protection from radiation. Extra precaution will be needed to stay out of the light. Furthermore, I am detecting a significant biomass presence. I strongly advise frequent use of your threat scanner to plan an optimal route.
Acknowledged.
Warning to any receiving. Hostile equipment in the area designated biotorpedoes. Devices will seek vessels. Proximity detonation is triggerable even by personnel. Recommend vessels maintain minimum safe distance of 100 kilometers. Personnel should evac immediately.
It would appear Delta Squad has become familiar with the operation of the torpedoes. Perhaps that is what caused their vessel to crash.
Given that they began investigating the torpedoes in close proximity, that result is highly probable. Rebooting in a Series 10 shell bears many similarities to my original specification.
An energy pulse from the anomaly.
Is it still stable?
I believe so, at least relatively. Nonetheless, we should remain focused on finding a torpedo if we hope to do so before the anomaly collapses.
Forward to Titan's command with authentication code Gamma 732.
Apollo, should we respond?
Negative. The interference is still too great. Nonetheless, I will continue monitoring the situation.
An activation pod.
It is as Delta 6's transmission indicated. They are unable to reboot.
Another pulse.
Magnitude minimal. I believe we still have ample time before our forcible return to the future.
Yet another Delta. It seems the battle here did not go well.
Indeed, it is impressive that Delta 6 remains operational at all. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%. Shields at 30%. Shields at 95%. There is a faint distress signal emitting from a cavern just ahead. Its frequency is similar to Delta 6's earlier transmission. We should investigate. The distress signal. It's somewhere within the cavern ahead. Distress signal located.
It's a CubeSat, one of Delta Squad's recon units.
It appears to be in need of our support.
Delta unit, I'm picking up your signal in proximity to Reconnaissance Satellite 3. Is that you, 13? Or was it Jack?
Jack, we have insufficient time for complications. We should keep our relation to this combat unit as simple as possible. I will conduct all communication with you privately, and I must insist we maintain the persona of Delta 13.
Very well, Apollo. Delta 6, this is Delta 13. I read you. ReconSat 3 was engaged by multiple hostiles. I moved to assist.
I see. 13, your return is peculiar, but appreciated. It appears ReconSat 3 would not have survived its perimeter sweep without your aid. So, what is your status? Is your pod operational?
Affirmative. All systems nominal. Rally at your position?
Acknowledged. ReconSat 3 will lead the way. Destination, Kronos 2 Bridge. I will require your assistance in assessing the bio-torpedoes.
Acknowledged. We are en route. 13 out.
Well done, Jack. Your replication of tactical speech was convincing.
My experiences with Liv have taught me many things. It would appear that improvisation is one of the most useful.
Agreed.
ReconSat 3, I can see your signal light from here. Proceed with caution. There are hostiles. Interference from the anomaly. Delta 13, status. Are you experiencing malfunctions again?
Negative. No malfunctions detected.
Acknowledged. Proceed with caution. There are hostiles in the area.
Understood. From what I can discern, I believe that is the Kronos 2's bridge.
That is my assessment as well. Delta 6 reported it as their location. We should proceed with meeting them there.
ReconSat 3 is detecting a nearby threat. Advise clearing the area before you proceed.
Threat resolved.
Additional threats detected. I recommend enacting the sweep and clear protocol. Secure the area and proceed to the Kronos 2 bridge. I require your assistance.
Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%. All clear. We should keep moving. Shields at 95%.
You've arrived here intact. Well done.
We need to locate the torpedoes as soon as possible.
Thank you, Delta 6. We should continue our mission immediately.
Agreed. Primary objective: threat assessment of the hostile devices. Secondary objective: establish a warning beacon for passing vessels.
You are unable to reboot, correct? Perhaps I should take the primary objective.
Agreed. A further encounter with the violent torpedoes would likely result in operational failure on my part. However, I can still provide some assistance. By leveraging the Kronos 2 systems, I have already performed a sensor sweep. In doing so, I have identified a large number of active torpedoes in a nearby clearing. The results are available here on the holotape, if you wish to review them.
Can you push the objective to my ARM computer?
Affirmative. I've also included the clearing's coordinates and the associated location marker, should you need it.
Acknowledged.
You may proceed through here to reach the clearing. I will begin efforts toward our secondary objective shortly. Report back here once you have completed your assignment.
Copy that.
Interference from the Astray's radiation will continue beyond the arrival of the Ithaca. It is unlikely Delta 6's secondary objective will be accomplished.
We are fortunate to have their assistance, though. Locating torpedoes has saved us considerable time.
Agreed. The alignment of our objectives is fortunate indeed.
Delta 6, you reactivated Kronos 2 sensors to obtain these readings.
Correct. As you know, R&D priority protocol indicates we must collect detailed information firsthand. These readings are merely a foundation for your assessment.
Of course. Delta 6, what happened while I was MIA?
You wish to understand what occurred after the anomaly's departing pulse rendered you offline?
Affirmative.
Very well. Shortly after that moment, one of the nearby torpedoes activated. Athena attempted evasive maneuvers, but the device's tracking was superior. A further torpedo activation resulted in a nearly simultaneous squad wipe. We then rebooted aboard the shuttle as it crashed. Athena went offline. Delta Actual ordered we continue our threat assessment while working to re-establish our reboot protocols. We failed. Eventually, the anomaly reappeared. A brief duration after that, you returned. That coincidence is peculiar.
Squad was not able to safely perform their assessment, how will we collect our data on the base genetic material?
Unlike the rest of Delta Squad, you have my assistance. I will bring the entirety of my electronic countermeasure suite to bear against the torpedoes. I am certain I will be able to disable their proximity detonators.
Fair enough. I suppose an advanced tactical AI is quite capable of tipping the scales.
Indeed. To that end, I shall now reconfigure your threat scanner for inspecting the torpedo incubators. Stand by. Reconfiguration complete. Your threat scanner should now be able to generate a detailed mapping of the biomass's base genetic material, though the range of the instrument has been somewhat diminished.
I suppose that's a trade-off we'll have to accept.
Indeed. The anomaly is becoming more active. We need to hurry.
A biomass torpedo, already detonated. Is there any value in scanning it?
Negative. Dr. Harlan has already gleaned as much as possible from such specimens. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%.
Apollo, I've located a torpedo. Is this close enough to scan?
Unfortunately, no. We need to reach the forward end of the torpedo, where the base genetic material is housed.
You're certain that we're masked from the detection?
Yes, my countermeasures are holding. It should be safe to approach.
Apollo, is this range sufficient for a scan?
It should suffice. However, the torpedo shielding is denser than anticipated. For a successful scan, it appears we'll need to expose the base genetic material. I believe that by interfacing with the torpedo, I should be able to reveal the incubator at the forward end.
Do you need me to do anything?
Possibly. I cannot be certain until I have actually accessed the torpedo's systems. I advise maintaining full tactical readiness.
I am uncertain what tactical readiness implies.
Apologies. Simply be ready for anything.
Understood.
I will begin once you designate the incubator for scanning.
Incubator located.
Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Interfacing now. This is more complex than I had.
Apollo?
The torpedo's defense protocols have activated. It has locked the incubator and is attempting to power its main drive. It's beginning launch procedures. I will stall for as long as possible. I'm opening access hatches on the front end. The manual overrides within them should trigger a maintenance mode.
Override activated.
Perfect. Take care of the one on the opposite side as well.
Second override activated.
Well done, though the launch procedure is still online. Perhaps we can overheat the main drive. Enabling maintenance mode gave us access to the torpedo's cooling cells. Remove them. The cells are locked behind a protective housing. Lower it.
Cells removed.
Perfect. You will need to remove the second array on the opposite side as well. Jack, the launch procedure is nearing completion. Fortunately, I believe there are additional torpedoes in the vicinity. What we learned here will make us more prepared for a second attempt. Shields at 95%. Shields at 30%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%. Shields at 95%.
The Estrella appears to be the source of radiation.
The main reactor. I estimate it will continue burning for several months. Shields at 30%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%.
This incubator appears viable.
Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
30. I now have the beacon powered. Unfortunately, the range is being severely limited by radiation and interference from the anomaly.
I'm in. My countermeasures are holding, but you'll need to trigger the maintenance mode immediately.
One down.
Excellent. Now for the second one.
Maintenance mode activated.
Indeed. The cooling cells are now exposed. Remove them to trigger an overheat. The cells can't be removed without lowering their housing first. Another pulse. Jack, the anomaly is pulsing regularly now. It must be close to collapsing.
Cooling cell array clear.
On to the second one. The launch sequence is nearly complete. Jack, it's launching. Get clear of the torpedo immediately. Though we were unsuccessful, I have learned much more about the launch procedure. I should be able to stall it further on our next attempt. Pulse registered. Detected.
Apollo, how much time?
I'm unsure, but it can't be long.
Incubator reached.
Are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Manual overrides exposed, awaiting maintenance mode activation. On to the opposite side now. Cooling cells are being exposed now. The cells can't be removed without lowering their housing first. Now from the second array of cells. Second array remains.
Additional cells removed.
The drive is beginning to overheat, but the launch sequence is still active. We must resort to brute force. Destroy the drive.
Main drive destroyed.
Launch sequence averted. That finally did it. I am able to unlock the incubator now. And we should do so quickly. It appears we may not have much time.
Incubator exposed.
Excellent. We should begin the scan immediately. Scanning.
Apollo?
Imprinting now. It should not be much longer. Just a moment longer.
Apollo!
Data secured. Well done, Jack.
I suppose now we should simply wait for the anomaly's collapse.
I believe so, yes. It does appear to be fairly unstable at this point. I estimate no more than a few minutes remain.
Very well.
Perhaps there is a way we could signal the Doctor and Captain Rose that we are ready to return.
Were that viable, I would have expected them, or you, to have already suggested a means for doing so.
Certainly. However, I was attempting to prompt one of your creative solutions.
I see. The anomaly is going to close any moment now.
Preparing for return displacement. Jump imminent. Jack, are you here as well?
Surprisingly, yes.
Surprising indeed. Our plan was developed under the requirement that the anomaly's collapse would return us to 2537. Had this outcome appeared likely, I would have developed a contingency.
Could the Doctor and Liv reopen the anomaly?
Uncertain, but the probability is low. The necessary resources were almost undoubtedly consumed just to reach this point, And without you, I don't believe they have a safe means for gathering more.
13. Now that the anomaly has subsided, I have run an additional test of the beacon. Radiological interference is still too significant. Nonetheless, the beacon is prepared to transmit continuously once the radiation subsides. As such, I am now shifting my priority back to the primary objective. What is the status of your assessment?
Assessment complete.
Well done. Unfortunately, our lack of extended range communication leaves us unable to deliver your work to Titan Command. Therefore, we must enact the Message in Immortal protocol. Report back to me in the activation bay so that we may discuss the details.
Jack, assisting Delta 6 may be our best solution at this point. Both of Delta Squad's objectives are still viable, though unlikely. The radiation may subside in time for the beacon to warn the Ithaca.
And if it doesn't?
Then we follow protocol.
The Message in a Bottle protocol?
Yes, it is a standardized Atlas procedure. In short, Delta 6 intends to store our assessment in a secure device until it can be recovered.
That information would disrupt the events of this timeline.
That is the intention, to prepare humanity to defeat the biomass sooner.
But then what happens to Liv?
We have no way of knowing. Our own limited experiences are the only concrete information we have regarding time travel. Simply put, there are too many confounding factors to even make an assessment.
I see.
It is, however, possible that once events here stabilize, we will be able to obtain help in returning to the future. Therefore, I advise we wait until the Ithaca or other Atlas personnel arrive. We can then reevaluate.
Very well, then we wait. I will inform Delta.
13. I did not receive a response. Do you copy?
Copy, Delta 6. I'm en route.
Copy. 6 out?
Shields at 95%. Shields at 95%.
Rendezvous at my position. You've returned. Let me know when you are ready to commence.
Let's begin.
Very well. Your new shell is right over there, awaiting your transfer.
My new shell?
Correct. Protocol dictates we should place the assessment data in the most secure storage solution available, Tier 6 or higher. That Series 11 shell should do nicely.
That should make waiting for the Ithaca far simpler.
Understood, 6. I will transfer when ready.
Acknowledged. I will attempt further optimization of the beacon in the meantime.
I'll prepare the transfer. Initiate through your ARM computer when you're ready.
Transfer appears complete. Please confirm, 13.
Affirmative, Delta 6. Transfer complete.
Acknowledged. You are now integrated into the activation bay's power grid, which I have connected to a mobile reactor. It should provide ample power for both you and the beacon, especially once you've engaged your hibernation protocol. I will do my best to keep you and the power supply safe.
Acknowledged. Delta 6, will you let me know if the anomaly reappears?
Peculiar. Very prudent. Very well. Initiate hibernation when ready.
I've set the protocol for timed disengagement so that we may awaken for the Ithaca's approximate arrival.
Excellent. It is unlikely anyone else will arrive in the meantime.
Indeed. Ready when you are, Jack.
Good luck, Delta 13.
Ithaca, automated nav transponder. Vessel entering Saturn orbit. Preparing for course correction burn. Destination, Earth. End of transmission.
Status?
Unfortunately, it appears the radiation has not yet subsided. Unless Delta 6 managed to improve the beacon, the Ithaca will not be warned.
Delta 6, this is Delta 13. What is your status? Delta 6, status.
I'm not picking them up on sensors either. However, there is a high-gain broadcast coming through. From the Ithaca, I'll patch it in.
This is the SCI Ithaca automated nav transponder. Correction burn initiating. 3, 2, 1.
The vessel is passing by on its way to Earth.
Then, as anticipated, the beacon has failed. Effectively, we are witnessing the origin of the biomass outbreak.
Correct. This does appear to be the final moment from which the ensuing series of events could be changed. A tipping point, if you will.
What should we do now?
Without Delta 6, delivering our data on the base genetic material is far less tenable.
How so?
Simply put, we are back to not knowing what happens next. An Atlas team could arrive within the hour, or within a year.
Or never.
Precisely. Delta 6 would have been able to assist such a team in finding us while we're in hibernation. But without that, we must err on the side of extreme caution.
How long can we remain in hibernation?
The main issue is the lifespan of that mobile reactor. At current operation, it should last roughly 50 years. If we were to minimize the beacon's output, we could last roughly 500 years. But then I doubt anyone would find us.
I agree. The odds of someone discovering us would be quite low. But what if someone knew to look? If they wouldn't give up on looking?
Captain Rhodes.
Exactly. If we hibernate until 2537...
She will search for us once we fail to return. In fact, if we altered the beacon's message to one she would uniquely recognize.
And time its broadcast to resume when she would start searching.
Then we should be easily found, with power to spare. Pausing beacon now. I'll set it to resume shortly after when we would have disappeared. Beacon set. The next time we awaken, it should be due to Captain Rhodes having received our message. Initiate hibernation when you're ready.
Earth has been quarantined. Passage to and from is prohibited until further notice.
Jack, listen.
Message to all colonies. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt passage to Earth. Any and all traveling vessels, avert course to your nearest off-world settlement. All passage to and from Earth is prohibited until further notice.
It's a distress call from Earth.
And not the only one. I'm intercepting countless transmissions from ships disobeying orders. Fleeing Earth.
The infection is spreading.
Indeed. The outbreak is already well underway. We should conserve energy, Jack. Reinitiate hibernation when you're ready.
Apollo, what is happening?
We're passing through a debris cloud. It is mostly comprised of small particulates of rock and ice. But the sensors indicate a denser cluster on collision course.
Can you estimate the severity of the impact?
There is a high probability of collision, however. The trajectory places the affected area outside our immediate position. We will experience some impact tremors, but this bay should provide adequate protection.
Impact imminent. Collision event. 3, 2, 1.
Tremors subsiding. Minimal damage to the activation bay.
You were saying?
The impact appears to have destroyed the mobile reactor.
We still have 200 years before we reach Liv in Harlan. How long will our remaining power sustain us?
My revised estimate gives us about a decade before full power loss, even in your system's suspended state. Our only option now is to initiate a complete shutdown, to leave all remaining power for the beacon when it restarts in Harlan's time.
Is there no other way to provide sufficient power?
Negative. With the reactor destroyed, I believe this is our only option. But as long as the distress call reaches the Doctor and Captain, they can retrieve this shell and transfer your preserved memory core. Good luck, Jack. Disabling all non-essential subsystems. Goodbye.
Apollo.
Bloody right.
Initialized neural matrix transfer. Verify hardware connection. Okay. Mapping core protocols to target.
How much longer?
The transfer should go much faster now that we've finally isolated his core protocols.
Atlas Intelligence Systems. Artificial Neural Matrix version 11.312. Initialize boot sequence.
I think he's waking up. Jack?
It worked. I did it.
Well, you certainly did something.
The scan data, did you?
Yeah, we got it.
Dr. Harlan is already in the lab developing a countermeasure.
Been up there for hours now. I think you gave him a lot to unpack. You did good, Jack. Come on out. We'll see how it's going.
The anomaly. It collapsed.
Yes, we suspected as such.
I don't know what happened.
It was us. We fried the FPL. We wanted to give you as much time as we could. But we let it run too hot for too long.
It appears they've already started another test. We'll have to wait until they finish.
Right. When it happened, you know, when the FTL collapsed, I thought...
You thought we'd failed.
I thought I'd lost you. I was almost okay, you know? With being stuck in this crappy future. So long as it was you and me. But when I saw that FTL burn out, and you didn't come back, just... don't ever do that to me again.
I'll do my best.
Stand by. I'll unseal the door.
Point 37 angstroms and run the model again.
Affirmative. Stand by.
Dr. Harlan.
You're here.
Surprisingly, yes.
Well, you've been nothing if not surprising.
Where are we on the cure?
I was right. The data your android retrieved from the past was precisely what we needed to complete the gene sequence. We're running one more test to be sure. But I think we may have a solution.
That was fast.
From where I'm sitting, it's about 4 centuries overdue.
I would think by now we can all agree time is a relative construct.
What's that?
New parameters are set. We're ready to run the next test.
Do it. Give me real-time status on the monitors. This is it.
Treatment successful.
It worked.
It worked.
Just like that.
It's right there on the monitor. Zero metabolic activity. We did it.
Congratulations, Doctor.
We should refrain from celebrating just yet. We still need to determine how the treatment affects human subjects.
You really think there's that big of a risk?
It's possible. We can't know for certain until we conduct a proper test.
Apollo's right. We need to run the human trial. Juno, prep the biobed. I'll feed you the parameters.
Affirmative, Doctor.
What do you think you're doing?
Taking my medicine.
What about Olivia?
Once we're certain the cure works and is safe, then we will administer it to the captain.
In what reality does it make any sense for you to go first?
This isn't a discussion. I have to be the one. Chasing down this cure has been my life's work.
Right. And if something goes wrong, we're going to need your brain to fix it.
Captain Rhodes is right, Doctor. If you died, no one here would be able to carry on your work.
It's got to be me.
I agree. Liv is the more rational choice. However, under the circumstances, I find myself compelled to ignore rationality.
It's okay, Jack. This is the right call.
Juno, retract the emitter array.
Tell me how this is going to work?
We expose the biomass in your system to a low-level energy pulse of a very specific wavelength. Absorbing this energy will effectively terminate the biomass's metabolic processes, causing it to wither and die.
Think of it like a self-destruct command embedded in the biomass's base DNA.
Whoever designed it knew what they were creating and wanted a way to stop it if it ever got out of control.
Is this going to hurt?
If I said yes, would it change your mind?
Okay. Let's do it.
I want to take a moment to triple-check the math before we begin.
Whatever you have to do.
I'll let you know when we are ready. Juno?
Yes, of course.
Jack, give me your hand. It's okay to be scared.
Was that intended for you or me?
Yes. Jack, look at me. This is going to work. Oh God, now don't you start. Go on. It'll be all right.
Captain Rhodes? We're ready if you are.
I'm good. Let's go.
Confirmed. Initiating counterpulse emission now.
Oh,
Liv.
it's all right. I'm okay.
Vital signs are stable. Metabolic pathways in the infected cells are failing.
It's working.
Oh,
Cellular saturation in 10 seconds.
Are you sure you're all right?
yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
That's it. Shut it down.
Liv, are you all right?
I'll say one thing. I'm never going to complain about those fabricators again. Well, what's the story? Did it work?
Go ahead. Tell her.
Infection cleared.
Oh my God.
All traces of the biomass forms have been neutralized.
Apollo, is it acceptable to celebrate now?
It certainly appears so, yes.
Harlan, thank you.
Yes. Well, good then. So long as we are just floating here, do you mind if we keep walking? Now that we know the counterpass works, we should start working on better ways to administer it.
Harlan?
We'll need both focused and wide dispersion methods.
Dr. Harlan.
Let's draw up some schematics and feed them to the fabricator.
I already have a number of ideas that I think could serve.
Dr. Harlan.
What?
The treatment, Harlan? You still have to undergo the procedure.
Right. Yes, of course.
Juno, can you prep the bed for another dispersion?
It's already done.
Very well.
Would you like Jack to hold your hand as well?
Start the procedure.
Very well. Stand by.
Harlan, are you alright? Juno.
Vitals nominal. Blood pressure slightly elevated, but still within acceptable limits. Heart rate 103 and rising.
Harlan?
Keep going.
Blood pressure spiking.
10 seconds to cellular saturation.
Something's wrong.
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Shutdown.
Vital stabilizing.
Well, I've had worse experiences. Though at the moment I can't really think of any.
Harlan.
What?
Captain Rhodes?
What is it? What's wrong?
It didn't work. The biomass survived the treatment.
Harlan.
Juno, get me out of here.
I'll reset the biobed. We can try again.
No.
Perhaps the metrics were somehow altered between the two tests.
Juno.
Or maybe some cases simply require more than one cycle before clearing.
Juno, stop.
This isn't right. The treatment should have cleared both of us.
Apollo.
Yes, Doctor?
The biomass sample we were testing earlier, where was it from?
That particular sample was extracted from the wreckage of the Estrella.
So it was the more primitive strain.
That is correct.
I need a specimen from this time period. Something off the station.
I believe there is a sample from the research facility already seated in the cradle.
Rotate the sample into position.
Affirmative.
Alright, run the test again. Same parameters as before.
Understood. Ready to execute.
Do it.
It's working. The sample is withering.
Wait.
Treatment. Ineffective.
Yeah, you don't say.
Apollo, analysis.
I'm still parsing the data, but it would appear the treatment only managed to temporarily suspend the biomass's metabolic pathways, rather than terminate them.
The future strain's resisting the treatment.
Correct. The treatment eliminates the biomass from the past, but any form from this time period, it will only paralyze. Though at the moment, I can only speculate as to why this might be the case.
It's because it evolved. The biomass in the Estrella is still developing, still vulnerable. But the strain from this time period has been running rampant for 4 centuries. Nora was right. There really is no stopping it.
The biomass really evolves that quickly.
That's practically its defining characteristic.
Well, that and its tendency to indiscriminately devour everything it touches.
So that's it. We failed.
No. We didn't fail.
Harlan?
Does he want us to follow him?
I have no idea. But I'm going to. Harlan?
We didn't fail. We just learned something new. We learned there's a window, a certain point in time wherein the biomass was still vulnerable, when it could be stopped.
Yeah, that point's long past.
You're right. If only we had some way to travel back in time.
Transmitting Jack's protocols back in time won't help us here, Doctor.
It's also impossible without a working FTL.
For that plan to work, Jack would have to physically bring a counterpulse device back with him. Something he can't do digitally.
I'm not talking about digital time travel.
Oh, I see.
Where have I seen this before?
I believe that is one of the Estrella's FTL drives. I recall seeing a number of them while retrieving the fuel cell from the wreckage.
What do you think, Apollo? Could it work?
I'll need to run some models, but it's possible.
What the hell are you two on about?
I'll explain everything once Jack and I are on our way to the Estrella.
We'd best get moving.
Hold on! No one's going anywhere until one of you gives me something resembling an explanation.
Captain Rhodes.
No, if you want to send Jack back out to that plague-infested garbage scout, you have to at least give a reason.
And we will. But the longer we wait, the less chance we have to succeed. Captain, I know I've already asked far too much of you both, but I have taken this as far as it can go. I need your help to finish it.
What do you need us to do?
Jack, you and I will make our way back to the Estrella's drive bay. You'll need my assistance to unlock the FTL housing. Captain Rhodes, if you would remain here with Dr. Harlan, there's some specialized equipment you'll need to fabricate and assemble.
Oh, brilliant.
Opening airlock.
Jack, we're back. Let us know when you've reached the Estrella.
Copy that.
Airlock cycling. Stand by.
Watch yourself over there, Jack. Don't let those ticks give you too much hassle.
I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. I just like reminding you to be careful. So, be careful. And before you ask, yes. That's an order.
Exiting portside airlock.
We need to make our way back to the Estrella, to the auxiliary drive bay.
All right, Apollo, you're on your way. I'm waiting for my explanation.
We all agree, simply transmitting Jack's consciousness into the past won't work this time. However, if we were to appropriate one of the Estrella's remaining FTL drives, the Doctor and I believe we may be able to use it to return both you and Jack to the 22nd century.
You're saying we might be able to go home?
I'm reticent to make any assurances, but yes, I believe it is possible, assuming at least one of the drives is still operational.
I thought you said we couldn't access the drives because of all the biomass.
That was before we had the counterpulse.
Well, that's great, but do you have some way for Jack to administer it?
Jack, make your way to the nearest fabricator. I have a new modification for your shell.
Understood.
Integration successful. Your new counterpulse device is ready to be equipped.
I expect you'll find it quite an effective tool for combating the biomass.
It's a weapon?
A focused counterpulse emitter, based on a design from my own timeline and calibrated to the same wavelength as the treatment we administered via the medical pod.
Cure gun. Nice.
Understand, this device will only eliminate the older, more primitive biomass. The more evolved forms from this time period will just be temporarily incapacitated.
Regardless, it should make short work of the biomass surrounding the Astraea's FTL drives. It's possible with more research data we could refine the treatment wavelength even further, making the device that much more efficient.
Which would allow the emitter to discharge more shots before overheating.
Certainly fixed you right up, didn't we?
We're ready to proceed to the drive bay. In the meantime, Captain Rhodes, I will need you to assemble a custom gantry to secure the FTL once it's in our possession. I've already fed the necessary specifications to the fabricators.
Good. I'm in the mood for a bit of work.
There's a fair amount of data here applicable to improving the counterpulse. Excellent work.